Hi, Bella. It's really
Hi,
nice
Radha.
to see you.
Yeah,
And thank you so much for saying yes to having a talk uh, about the course which is coming up, the Primal Mirror, online,
yeah, yeah.
facilitated by you.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I want to start with something which I know, which is that Primal is your work and it is your
True.
passion. And
Absolutely.
and it's a way of living. I mean, I saw it over the years.
It's true.
And I want to ask you what is primal for you and what made you choose it?
Um, I'm not sure whether I consciously chose it, but when I did my own primal, I felt, wow, this is something I really want to understand and start to work with. So I had a very strong clarity, not knowing what I was needing to do, but yeah. And what it means for me, again and again, is that for me to be in a primal process requires for me to be truthful too. So my work never really ends because I need to keep on working in order to invite the people in. Yeah, and that makes it very what's the word for that? It makes it very truthful. That also, but real and truthful. Because I get to I need to be real and authentic. That's the word that I was looking for. It brings a lot of authenticity. Yeah. And that's very beautiful. If people fall into who they really are, they are gorgeous. And that's
Mm.
such a gift. Yeah. They are really gorgeous. Yeah. And then I think, oh yeah, this is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me of the way I felt when I came out of the process. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to ask you what is happening in a primal process, in a primal course. Of course,
Um,
there's a lot to say, but what
yeah.
can be said
Yeah.
now?
Yeah. So first of all, I think it's true. What is also very significant in a primal process is that it's an individual experience. So we might do the same exercises, but everybody will have its own individual experience in that. But in general, what I can say is that we move back in time to reconnect again with the child we once were in the past. And then primal comes from an understanding that our conditioning takes place in the first 7 years of our lives, where we are the most vulnerable. So many of us don't even remember that time. Yeah. And that is the most precious time of our life because there's where we kind of learn like what is the world about, what is it to be a man and woman, how work relations, how do people interact, many things we learn in those first 7 years. We think we learn things in university, but 80% is done in those first 7 years. The rest is peanuts. Although I know that there's a lot to understand, but yeah. And what we do in primal or primal related stuff is I place questions for you to start feeling if it's really true, that what you perceive as your truth about you and about the world surrounding you, whether that is really true. And often, if not all of the times, it's a very different understanding what people move into. And in that, it's two things. It's very confronting and sometimes very painful to see that what you have lived for many years is actually a lie or not true. And at the same time, it's very revealing, and the honesty always brings healing. I've seen it so many times. When the truth falls into place, although it can be painful, it always brings healing because sometimes or something falls in place. Because deep we know what is the truth. Yeah. Yeah, so I get very enthusiastic, so I stop, because then I keep on talking. Yeah, yeah. There's so many things to be
Yeah.
to be explored in a primal process. Yeah.
Yeah. I I completely relate to that. And it's also, for me, that kind of clarity brought also a lot of lightness. A lot of burden was taken off
Yeah,
my shoulders
yeah, yeah, yeah. And
from,
it, yeah, and what comes in it also is we become more visible. The shame, the shame disappears. We become more independent. We learn to trust our own intuition. Yeah, so it's really coming home. There's many things falling in place in the primal process.
yeah. Lately, for people who work with themselves, they also come across this concept of the inner child. That, I mean, you also talked about connecting with our childhood and the little girl, the little boy inside of us. And I notice not all inner child work is the same. And I feel that the experience that I had with you was very profound, very, very, it went very deep. And what is it that you can say that is, I don't know, different in the way that you approach this work? Or maybe what is the difference between a primal process versus, I don't know, working in sessions in therapy and coaching?
Okay. But I think the main and the biggest difference is my work is based on the understanding of an enlightened master, Osho. And that for me is still an ongoing process. I mean, there isn't a day that I say, okay, now I think I got it. There's every time, oh, there's even more to it. So there is something in the way he shares his vision that he invites us all the time to keep looking, like to question everything what comes and to keep looking. So the biggest difference is that ability of watching, what we can call it meditation or being aware. So he says, I say it in my own words, but he says you can do therapy until you're 99 without that, without bringing meditation to that understanding, what you work to, it will never change. So it's more than just looking at what happened in my past, but it is also looking like, what is this life all about, and why am I here, and what am I doing here? So it becomes much broader than just um, doing grieving work, for example, which is an
Right.
important
Yeah.
part, right? To cry over your lost, over things that are lost in the past because your mother and your father couldn't see you for who you are. Yeah, the grieving work is an important part of it. But if we cannot take responsibility for the life we have and move that in your own hands, then yeah, it's kind of like a band-aid. At least for me, it feels like a band-aid. This is all about growing up and taking your life in your hands, and then
Yeah.
yeah, also coming to an understanding that yeah, it's how to say that life itself is such an adventure, what we don't know. And if we can live it with that curiosity of a child, it's really like, then it's a paradise. It's a big playground where, yeah, you can have the same experiences as what you had as a child, that you could play endlessly. Time didn't exist. You were so totally into what you were doing. And that is something, that quality you can bring back to life, and then you're actually living in paradise. Yeah. So a lot
Yeah.
of what I share is based on what I have understood from what he shares. I'm not saying that I totally understand, but yeah, what I understand, I share. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And I would also add something from my personal experience. It is all that. And also, there is something which I felt particularly from you, which is that I felt completely seen, totally seen. Like I never knew it is possible to feel like this, to feel really seen. And then everything that was happening there just went
yeah,
really deep.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which, which, I mean, it. Yeah, I guess I have a quality there, but still, for me, it's very much related to what Osho mirrored also towards me, because
Mm,
he has that quality
right,
like no one else.
right.
He, and that is also my primal is not about putting you back in the box where
Yeah,
society has decided now you're normal. No, this is all about who you truly
yeah,
are. And then it might be that you don't fit in the box, most likely, and that is fine actually. uh, and then also learning to live that quality without needing to revolt or to go against what is there, but to learn to kind of be in this marketplace
yeah.
and still being authentically yourself. Yeah,
There is this a bit provocative question that I wanted to ask you because I know people, when they hear about this kind of work, they become afraid that, oh, I'm going to be that person who is blaming their parents
mm,
for what is wrong in their life. And that doesn't feel right.
yeah,
So, is there something you can say about that?
yeah. So primal is absolutely not a course that goes against parents, because bless them, really. Yeah, yeah, to be a parent, it's quite something. And they really try their best. And they, in their turn, were conditioned by their parents and their parents by their parents. So conditioning is kind of handed over for generations in a row. But, I say really, but our inner child, or maybe more better or more correctly said, is our wounded child, needs to hear and receive an acknowledgement for what it went through. And so it's not to blame the parents, because it wasn't done on purpose, or that they really thought like, okay, this child is here, now I'm going to do this. It's all out of unconsciousness that this happens.
Mm.
But with the acknowledgement that we receive, only then we can move to that place of forgiven. So often what I see in other kind of therapies, there is this idea like you need to forgive. And then
Right.
people forgive, but then, underneath there's a whole mountain of unfelt
Yeah.
feelings. And this is not about forgiving. So forgiving is something that comes out of something. You don't do it. It happens. All of a sudden you feel you are in a place where you can, through understanding, really feel like, okay, it's no longer their responsibility. Now it's up in my hands. So it's something that comes out of an understanding. And for me, that can only happen when we are seen in that what has been done to us. There's a difference. As a child, we are entitled to receive certain things, which of course, when we are an adult, so 25 plus, we cannot have that same demand. But often that is what happens if we don't own it. Then we become entitled children in our adult life, and that doesn't look so nice.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah,
know that.
yeah.
Yes, because I did it for a long time. That's the
I
reality.
most of us do.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And it takes
Now,
quite a practice to be aware not to act out our woundedness actually in our adult life. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, and
yeah,
it really shows up at work. It shows up in our relationships. It
yeah,
shows up in the way I treat my body. Why is my body sick now? How dares it? That
yeah,
doesn't help any healing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And
Mm.
maybe that is something that I would like to say, because that the course that we are going to do is a 3 day, which definitely has a depth,
Okay.
but I give this in different kind of formats. So there's a course that I have recently developed. It's called Inner Child Work online,
Mhm.
which is really just learning to understand what is that actually an inner child.
Mm.
Uh, so it's really for people who are totally new to the work. And then there is Primal Mirror online, which is a 3 days. So the other one is 2 days. This is a 3 days, which is still connecting, like what is that, what does that concept inner child, how does it live inside me, but it also brings in already something of how can I step in to start taking care.
Yeah.
Then there is the primal deconditioning intensive, which is minimum 6 or longer days. There it's really it's over 24 hours, so you really, there's no escape, there's kind of really looking. And then there's the rebel, which is a 5 days, which works more like mm, how can I support my adult part to really step in and say, okay, this is my life, I'm going to live it. And then, of course, there's the AFH, the Osho Freedom Process, which is a 12-day course, which is, yeah, the only thing what I can say for that is it really gives a reboot in your system. Yeah. So, yeah. And why I'm saying that is also like, um, in primal you cannot do anything wrong. It comes when it's right for you, so there's also no comparison. So I don't want to put an expectation like, oh, I'm going to do it 3 days and then all of a sudden
Everything is
it's
solved.
a solved, everything is solved. Yeah,
It's the magic pill that
yeah, exactly.
we all
Yeah,
want, but
yeah, yeah, yeah. So
yeah.
the 3 days, what I like about the 3 days, and I was really surprised about the online, is that it really works. It really works.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I really had a question mark about. Yeah, so what I said is like in Primal, you cannot do really anything wrong. So everybody also, because we are individuals, everybody has its own pace and everybody will take its own sweet time to get where one needs to be. Yeah. So there's different steps, and what I can say, like after I think I'm doing this work now for more than 20 years. Yes, I am myself still learning. Every time when I sit in front of a group, I learn.
Mm.
So it in the end it becomes um, a way of living instead of I did my group tick and now I'm
Mm.
done. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Bella. I
You're most welcome.
I would still sit here and listening and talking more, but
Yeah.
what to do? We all have things to do, and yeah, I just thank you so much. We end by saying that the course, the Primal Mirror online course, is happening on 17, 18, 19 of June.
June. Mm.
And we are going to have a taster on the 13th, on Monday evening. And I'm going to post the details to this. And yeah, the journey goes on. We,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll meet again. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're most welcome. Thank you too for making the time. And I only want to add, please come. Please just
Mm.
come. It's such a precious gift to oneself to have and look like what your child, how that is connected to you as a person. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
An
Good.
invitation also from my side. Yeah. Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you, Bela.
Okay. Thank you, Radha. See
Bye.
you
See
on
you.
the taster.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Bye.
Bye.